You make everyone uncomfortable. My mom excused when uninviting me to. Growing up, I always knew I was the odd one out in my family. While my siblings were the perfect image of my parents, extroverted, athletic, and socially adept, I was the quiet, bookish one who struggled to fit in. It wasn't a mystery that my mom and I had a strained relationship, but I never thought she'd go so far as to outright uninvite me from a family event. Yet, that's exactly what happened. It all started when my younger brother, Jason, announced his engagement to his longtime girlfriend, Sophie. The family was ecstatic, and my mom immediately jumped into planning mode. My phone was surprisingly silent amid all the excitement, but I didn't think much of it. I assumed the details were being finalized and that I'd receive my invitation soon. A few weeks later, while scrolling through social media, I saw a post from my cousin. It was a picture of a beautifully designed wedding invitation, captioned, "Can't wait for Jason and Sophie's big day? Family celebration." My heart sank. I hadn't received one. Thinking it must have been an oversight, I called my mom. The conversation went something like this. "Hey, Mom, I saw the wedding invites went out. I don't think I got mine." A long silence followed before she cleared her throat. "Oh, well, sweetheart, Jason and Sophie decided to keep it small." I frowned. I saw that even our second cousins were invited. Why wouldn't I be included? There was another pause before she sighed. "Look, honey, we just want this to be a fun, drama-free event. And, well, you make people uncomfortable." I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. What? What does that even mean? She hesitated. "You know how you are. You always bring up weird topics, and you don't really mesh well with the family. You're too quiet, and it's awkward. We just don't want anyone feeling weird on Jason's special day." My head was spinning. I had always known I was different, but to hear my own mother say, outright, that I made people uncomfortable, that I wasn't welcome at my own brother's wedding because of who I was, it was devastating. I could barely form words. "So, you're saying my presence would ruin the wedding?" "Oh, don't be dramatic," she huffed. "It's just easier this way." I hung up. The days that followed were a blur of emotions. Anger, sadness, betrayal. My dad, usually the more level-headed one, called me later to try and justify it. He said it wasn't personal, that the wedding was meant to be a lively, social event, and that my reserved nature didn't fit the atmosphere. He suggested I understand where they were coming from. Understand? How could I understand being ostracized by my own family for simply existing differently? That's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to waste my energy trying to belong where I clearly wasn't wanted. I didn't fight it. I didn't call Jason to plead my case. I simply accepted that my family had shown me where I stood. On the wedding day, I took a solo trip to the mountains. I turned off my phone and spent the weekend reading, hiking, and reflecting on my self-worth. Months later, Jason called. "Hey, I just wanted to check in. Mom told me you were pretty upset." I let out a humorless chuckle. "You mean about being uninvited from my own brother's wedding?" He sighed. "Look, it wasn't personal. We just wanted an easygoing day." I cut him off. "You know what? I've realized something. If me simply being present makes everyone uncomfortable, then maybe I don't belong in this family the way I thought I did." He didn't respond. After that call, I went through a long period of soul-searching. I had always bent over backward trying to gain my family's approval, molding myself into someone I wasn't, hoping that one day they would accept me. But I finally understood that no matter how much I changed, I would never be enough for them. I decided to build a life where I was celebrated, not merely tolerated. I poured myself into my passions, made new friends who shared my interests, and found a community where my weirdness was seen as something wonderful. Years later, when I heard that my mom had fallen ill, I hesitated before visiting. The wounds from her rejection were still fresh, but I went anyway. Sitting by her bedside, she looked up at me, her eyes filled with something I had never seen before, regret. "I should have invited you," she whispered weakly. "I was wrong." I took a deep breath. "Yeah, you were." She nodded, and for the first time in my life, I felt like she actually saw me. It didn't erase the past, but it gave me closure. Turns out, the problem wasn't me, it was them. And for the first time, I was finally at peace with that.